Who told you there would be an economic rebound? They owe you an apology. Looking at the statistics, it's very clear right now that there is no rebound. There is no V-shaped recovery. This is important because it is clearly a difference from their narrative, which leads us to believe that we must challenge everything that they say. The central bankers have one thing in mind: keep the economy weak and take everything for themselves. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I have an absolutely jam-packed episode to get into today. It is going to be massive. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about the stock markets. We're going to look at different indicators. I'm going to show you what's going on with shipping, with different industries. The economy itself is really faltering today. There is so much information just in this one video, and it is only a small piece of the puzzle. So let's get into it. Weekly claims turn higher, and this isn't a good thing because the expectation was that we were going to see the numbers declining week after week after week. And you could see the Labor Department said that the initial jobless claims came in at 1.416 million. And this just gives us the idea that maybe what they're telling us isn't exactly the case. Here you can see the numbers on the chart. It is very clear that what we are dealing with today is a very persistent issue. And as we have the store closures that have continued to put further pressure upon certain industries, particularly in areas where governments have forced the shutdowns yet again. This is happening on a smaller scale, but it could be widespread in the coming weeks. Let's see what happens with that. All I wanted to note here was that the initial claims have risen. Continuing claims for unemployment insurance is at 16.2 million, a number that is shockingly high still at this time, several weeks later. Several weeks into this, everything was supposed to have already been fixed by now, and of course, we are nowhere near that point today. This just shows you the red line, the continuing jobless claims, and the green is the ISM employment composite. Depending on which you look at, the numbers certainly are not good. Out of Bloomberg, the U.S. jobs picture worsens with census survey showing a July drop. Weekly poll shows employment decline of 6.7 million in a month. I'm not sure if you could see the numbers at the bottom here, but this is May 5th and this is July 14th. And we could see that it peaked out right around the June 15th mark and has been declining since. There's supposed to be more jobs. There's supposed to be more prosperity as the amount of money that's being printed into the system, as the deficits, if you want to look at it like rising or maybe declining, depending how you see it, are expanding, are getting worse, historically bad. The debt is expanding. Everything right now should be sending an adrenaline shot through the system. They're pumping it in every single direction, and yet here we are today, unable to get the system moving. That tells you how weak it is. The underlying problems are here right now, and there's going to be fundamental changes that we will see in 2021 and 2022. This whole narrative that they have been trying to sell you in the mainstream media and through the government is truly falling apart. I like to show this chart as often as possible. You can see the payroll jobs created since 2010. Looks like it's around 22 million or so. On the right-hand side, lost jobs in the last 17 weeks. I believe the number is approximately 52 million. It just shows you how significant this has been. The amount of people filing for initial claims has been historic. We've never seen anything like this before. But go around the world, it's essentially the same story. 59% of Americans don't plan to renew their gym memberships. I think this is very significant because it tells us something, despite the fact that it is a survey. As I say all the time, it's only going to give us a few people, I think there was 2,000 people in this case here, what they plan on doing, but it just shows you a look into what they're thinking. And I do believe that it isn't just gym memberships and gyms that are affected by what we're seeing today and even into the future. To me, it seems like this will affect a lot of different businesses because people have had to adapt. The fact that it's continuing, it's being prolonged for this period of time, work from home is tending to be a common thing today. And they say that this will be persistent potentially for the foreseeable future. That means less people on the road. That means less people needing a car. Maybe the household doesn't need two cars anymore. One would suffice. Maybe they don't even need one car. Maybe the one person can take the bus or the subway, or they're walking, or they're taking a bicycle, whatever it is. Things are changing right now, and we can see that clearly. It is affecting so many different industries. With freight, we're noticing the changes. I'll bring that to you in just a second, but I just wanted to highlight this to give you an idea of how the patterns have changed as a result of this, gyms being one of them. They used to go to the gym, they used to do the classes, now they have a way to do it from home. They figured it out, so they have no plans on going back to where they were before. Think about how many different industries this can apply to, and perhaps we'll be seeing that trend even into next year and the year beyond. AT&T says that 338,000 mobile users stopped paying their bills. You could see the breakdown. They give it to you here. The company said an additional 159,000 broadband customers and 91,000 TV subscribers have stopped their payments. They apparently will not cut off their service. They're going to continue giving that service to them and hope that they pay back later. I don't know what's going to happen here. Are they simply going to claim bankruptcy? Are they hoping that the bills are going to be forgiven? I don't know the situation. It doesn't look good when they're not paying their house bills, they're not paying their car bills, they're not paying their credit card bills, they're not paying their TV bills. The revenue for all these companies, that's one thing. But at the end of all of this, what's going to happen? If they're not getting the revenue permanently, there's a huge issue to worry about, because the economy, the US economy, 70% based on the consumer activity of constantly spending, of constantly consuming anything and everything. And if you slash that number down, you have a big problem. Munchkin says stimulus package will not be a bailout for mismanaged states. That's right. They're going to pick the winners and losers in this case here yet again. It's all a joke anyway. The money has now lost any value. It's lost any meaning. People are getting a lot of cash today. When you look at it, so many are getting paid more to stay home. This is a heavy burden on the government, which means you as an individual have to pay higher taxes. They haven't told you about the higher taxes. They haven't outlined that yet in many cases. But I'll tell you right now, you have to pay for it. And it comes in the form of your property taxes. It comes in the form of income taxes. Somehow, some way, you're going to pay. All right, the Baltic Dry Index, very important. I've been watching this rise here throughout 2020, and I just wanted to compare it to prior years. You could see that this typically is the way that it goes. We have the seasonality as it rises throughout this period. Over the last few weeks, it has started to decline. We'll see if that trend does continue. I think it's important to follow not just the Baltic Dry Index, but another I'll show you in just a second, and any other measurement that we can see what's happening. Look at the soybeans, for instance. I never even did a video about that. I had so much information based on where China's been getting all their soybeans from. It is very clear that Brazil is the #1 exporter to them here, despite the fact that China has bought some soybeans from the US. But we have seen that becoming a big issue because what they've promised and what they've actually purchased is definitely not on the same page. Here we can see the HARPEX, and this is just another indicator. We're looking at shipping in this case, and it just clearly outlines the narrative is not reality. And you could see it as just one indicator of many, but take a look. I mean, is this a V-shaped recovery? I mean, I guess it's pointing to a V, but I think there's a long way to go before we can call that a V, at least with the HARPEX. There's been so many other indicators that have shown similar patterns like this. Don't just show the fact that, okay, over the last couple weeks it's been heading upward. It is at a historic low. When things are at historic lows and they bump off the bottom, okay, that's a good sign, but you can't call it a V shape. You can't say you know what the future has in store. It's just not real. Really quickly wanted to give an update on the velocity of M2 money stock. This has been declining despite everything that the Federal Reserve, that the Treasury, and every other branch of government or quasi-government have done to get the money flowing. It's declining. Same situation here, global velocity of money. It's been rapidly falling. There's so much concern. There's so many questions that are being asked by businesses right now, by individuals as well. They don't know what to expect. And of course, this is a big problem. Home prices in the Hamptons hit record as wealthy New Yorkers flee to the beach. We have seen a rise in people moving to more rural areas, and in this case here to the Hamptons. People with money, they don't want to deal with what's happening in the cities. They're moving out, they're selling their places. I've seen areas where the inventory has picked up quite a bit. So many people want to get out. We have also noted the fact that certain area, cottage country for New York, you got the Hamptons, the prices have risen. We have seen the amount of sales taking place being historically abnormal, much slower time usually, but now, right now, the demand is clearly there. And I thought this was impossible. I mean, could the FANG stocks actually go down? Is it possible that a tech stock, you can actually sell it? I thought there was only buying options available because nobody ever sold. But hey, look at what's going on today. The numbers, in the short term anyway, are not very good because we are back to the levels we haven't seen since July 6th. You look at it, of course, over the last few months, practically a straight line, but it just shows you that there are many concerns today, as well as the fact that we have seen them rise so high that certain investors are saying, maybe I should trim some off the top. And that's what's happening. As a result of everything that's been happening today, we have the Federal Reserve going out there and expanding their programs. It is just absurd. It is just abnormal to see what they're doing. And I'll go into it further in just a second, but let me read the title. Federal Reserve Board announces expansion of counterparties in the term asset-backed securities loan facility, secondary market corporate credit facility, and commercial paper funding facility. They're going bigger, they're going broader. That means a devalued currency. Let's just say what it is. Here you have on the chart form, I'm going to end the video on this one, Fed's illegal. I love the fact that they put this word illegal in there. 13.3 facilities, every letter of the alphabet being used here twice over. You can see it in the top left corner if you got the legend. This is just unbelievable. It's terrible to see. Every time I have to check what's going on with the Federal Reserve, I get aggravated because these are not supposed to happen. You could see what they did previously, buying up all the treasuries. They're manipulating interest rates. They've got the open market operations. They're doing so, and supposedly there's a legal context for it. You could argue that, but whatever. They've been doing it for years. Then we have the mortgage-backed securities, which come around. They accelerated in the years following after the financial crisis. They had to, of course, nobody wanted to buy that junk. And now today, they have gone into a territory that they are not allowed to, but they set up a special purpose vehicle, so that makes it okay. Who's telling them to expand all of this? Who's giving them the authority to do this? Oh, that's right. They control it all. They don't care what you think. They don't care if you lose. They decide who wins and who loses. That's all for this video. If you found that informative, hit that thumbs up button. When you do, you are supporting me, so I want to thank you for that. This channel, the subscribers have basically just flatlined. It's just done. It doesn't matter. I really appreciate all those who are watching. Thank you very much. If you want to check me out on Instagram and Twitter and all that, you can do so at the Money GPS. If you want to learn how to sell stuff online, I'm talking about e-commerce. It's very important to understand this skill, and you can do so for free at the AmazonGPS.com. If you want to know what's going on in the financial system, you got to understand it from the root. You need to know how everything connects to each other, and I've done that in these two books here. If you want to look through them, check out the link in the description. If you are interested in the audiobook instead, themoneygps.com. Wait a second, don't go anywhere. This is a really good video that I recorded yesterday. If you haven't seen it already, definitely watch it. Click it. I will see you there.